The clock on my phone read 2:37 a.m. when the noise pulled me from sleep. A faint vibration. The soft glow of a screen. The unmistakable sound of a message being received. I didn't move right away. I lay still, my breath shallow, listening to the quiet hum of the ceiling fan and the steady rhythm of Emily's breathing beside me. The phone buzzed again. And then, a third time. That was unusual. Emily was a light sleeper, but she didn't stir. It wasn't until the fourth vibration that she shifted slightly, her body tensing before she turned her back to me. My eyes were already adjusted to the dark, and I saw the way she moved, slow, careful, deliberate. I didn't say a word. I just watched as she reached for the phone she kept under her pillow, barely tilting the screen toward her face as she read whatever had come through. I saw the way her lips parted slightly, how she held her breath for just a second longer than normal. Then she typed something. She thought I was asleep. I wasn't. Something cold and sharp settled in my gut as I turned onto my side, inching closer, slow and silent. The glow from her phone was just bright enough to illuminate part of her face. Just enough for me to catch a glimpse of something I wasn't supposed to see. A name. Liam. I had no idea who Liam was. The name alone wasn't enough to confirm anything. But the way she reacted? There was a kind of nervous energy in the way she held the phone. A subtle tension in her body, like she was doing something she wasn't supposed to. I could have let it go. I could have convinced myself it was nothing, that I was being irrational, that my mind was playing tricks on me. But instead, I reached out. Emily flinched when my fingers brushed her arm, her grip tightening around the phone before she quickly pulled it away and turned toward me. Her eyes were wide, her breath unsteady. "Jesus, you scared me," she whispered, pressing the phone against her chest like it was something precious, something she needed to protect. I didn't blink. "Who are you texting?" Her reaction was instant, defensive. "No one." I pushed myself up on one elbow, my gaze dropping to the phone she was still clutching like a lifeline. "Then let me see." She hesitated. That tiny pause, that split second of hesitation, was all the confirmation I needed. Her voice was calm when she spoke again, but I could hear the underlying tension. "It's just work stuff." Another lie. It wasn't work stuff. It wasn't a random message. It wasn't nothing. And she knew it. I held out my hand. "Emily." She didn't move. "Give me the phone." She swallowed hard, her fingers tightening around the device. "You're being ridiculous." I kept my voice level. "Then prove it." Silence. A beat. A single moment where everything hung in the air between us. Then, in one quick motion, she pressed the power button, shutting the screen off before she sat up and swung her legs over the side of the bed. "I don't have to prove anything," she muttered, running a hand through her hair. "I'm not doing this with you right now." I sat up too. "You don't have to, because I already know." She stilled for half a second before standing up, grabbing her robe from the chair in the corner. "I'm not going to entertain this at—" The phone buzzed again. Neither of us moved. The sound hung in the air like a gunshot. Emily's fingers curled around the fabric of her robe, and for the first time since I'd woken up, I saw something crack in her expression. It wasn't guilt. It was fear. And that was when I knew, without a doubt, that my wife was hiding something. And whatever it was about to destroy everything that I didn't even hesitate. The second that phone buzzed again, I reached for it. Emily reacted faster. She snatched it off the bed like her life depended on it, clutching it so tightly that her knuckles went white. "Are you serious right now?" she hissed, her voice low but sharp. I stared at her, at the way her fingers curled protectively around the device, at the way her breathing had turned shallow. I wasn't stupid. I wasn't imagining this. "Unlock it," I said, my voice calmer than I felt. She scoffed. "No," I held out my hand. "Then I'll do it myself." Emily took a step back, hugging the phone to her chest like a child refusing to share a toy. "I'm not giving you my phone, Adam. You're being insane." That word, insane, made something snap inside me. She was standing there, caught red-handed, holding onto a phone that had just betrayed her. And I was the one being insane? "Who is Liam?" I asked, keeping my eyes locked on hers. Her jaw tightened. "I already told you. It's work stuff." "No, you didn't. You just lied." Emily rolled her eyes and turned away from me, heading for the bedroom door. "I'm not dealing with this." I moved faster. Before she could reach the hallway, I stepped in front of her, blocking her way. "Give me the phone." She tried to brush past me, but I didn't budge. She let out a frustrated sigh, gripping the phone so hard that her fingertips were turning red. "Adam, move." I didn't. I just stared at her, at the woman I had trusted, the woman I had built a life with. And for the first time, I saw her for what she really was, a liar. Something deep inside me twisted, something I didn't want to acknowledge yet. My heart was pounding, my pulse roaring in my ears, but my voice stayed cold, controlled. "Unlock it." She let out a sharp, humorless laugh. "Are you even hearing yourself? You're acting like some paranoid psycho." That was her strategy now, deflect, gaslight, twist it around on me. But I wasn't playing along. "I'll ask you one more time," I said, my voice steady. "Unlock the phone." She clenched her jaw, and I could see the calculations running through her mind. We stood there, locked in a silent standoff, the tension in the room so thick it felt suffocating. And then she did something I wasn't expecting. She threw the phone, not at me, past me. The small, sleek device sailed through the air, landing directly in the toilet. For a moment, neither of us moved. A hollow plunk echoed through the bathroom, followed by a soft gurgle as the phone sank into the water. And just like that, the proof was gone. Emily took a shaky breath, lifting her chin slightly as if daring me to say something. I could see the wildness in her eyes, the desperate need to regain control of the situation. I exhaled slowly, shaking my head. Wow, that was all I could say. Because that was the guiltiest thing I had ever seen anyone do. She crossed her arms, trying to play it off like it didn't matter. Like she hadn't just confirmed everything. "There. Happy now?" My hands curled into fists at my sides. Not out of rage, no, that would come later. This was something else. A kind of clarity. My wife was cheating on me. She was standing right in front of me, and she knew I knew, and she still had the audacity to look me in the eye and act like I was the problem. I took a step closer. Not touching her. Just close enough that she had to tilt her head back to hold my gaze. "My wife's infidelity shattered me," I murmured, my voice quiet but firm. "But my revenge?" I leaned in just a fraction more, lowering my voice to a whisper. "It will be calm. And inevitable." Emily's bravado cracked, just for a second. A flicker of uncertainty crossed her face, her confidence faltering. And that was the moment she realized. I wasn't just going to let this go. I didn't speak to Emily for the rest of the night. I didn't argue. I didn't demand more answers. I just stood there, watching as she clenched her jaw and stormed out of the bedroom, slamming the door behind her. The sound echoed through the house, but I didn't flinch. She thought she won. She thought that by destroying the evidence, she had erased the problem. That I would sit in bed, stewing in doubt, unsure of what I had seen and what I had imagined. She was wrong. I walked into the bathroom and stared at the toilet. The phone was still there, resting at the bottom, the screen dark. I could fish it out, try to salvage it, take it somewhere to be repaired, but Emily would already be working on covering her tracks. I could practically hear her in the other room, pacing back and forth, running through excuses, preparing her next set of lies. No, I wasn't going to waste time on that. I turned away from the toilet, walked back into the bedroom, and grabbed my own phone. If she thought she had the upper hand, she was about to learn just how wrong she was. I called Logan. It was almost 3 a.m. and I knew he'd be pissed, but I didn't care. After 3 rings, he answered with a groggy, annoyed voice. "Dude, what the hell?" I ignored the irritation in his tone. "I need you to do something for me." There was a brief pause. Logan wasn't stupid. He could hear something in my voice, something that made him more alert. "What's wrong?" "I need you to track down a number." Logan let out a breath. "Adam, please." Another pause. Then, a sigh. "Text me the number." I closed my eyes, exhaling slowly. "I don't have it. But I have a name." Logan hesitated. "All right. Who?" "Liam." He didn't ask any more questions. Logan and I had been friends since college. He knew Emily. He had been at our wedding. And he also worked in cybersecurity, the kind of guy who could dig up anything on anyone if he really wanted to. "You think she's cheating?" he asked, his voice quieter now. I clenched my jaw. "I don't think, Logan." "I know." Another beat of silence. Then his voice hardened. "Give me an hour." I hung up without another word. I sat on the edge of the bed, my hands gripping my phone so tightly it felt like it might shatter. I could hear Emily in the other room, opening drawers, moving things around. Maybe she was grabbing a charger for an old phone. Maybe she was texting someone on her laptop, warning them. Maybe she was just pacing, trying to figure out how to spin this. It didn't matter. I wasn't waiting for her anymore. I wasn't going to be the guy who begged for the truth while she smirked and lied to my face. I was going to get the truth myself. An hour passed. I didn't sleep. I just sat there, staring at the bedroom door, listening to the silence of the house. When my phone finally vibrated, I snatched it up immediately. Logan had sent me a text. Found him. Call me. My pulse pounded in my ears as I pressed the button. Logan picked up instantly. Liam Whitaker, he said without even greeting me. 34 years old. Works in real estate. Lives downtown in one of those high-rise condos. I felt something in my stomach twist. You sure it's him? He's on Emily's LinkedIn connections, Logan said. And he hesitated for a second. There are pictures. My blood ran ice cold. What pictures? Logan exhaled sharply. They were careful. Nothing obvious. But I found tagged photos from a corporate event a few months back. Emily's in the background of some of them talking to him. And there's one where... He hesitated again. Where what? My voice was deadly quiet. Logan sighed. She's standing close. Too close. Hand on his chest, laughing at something he said. And he's looking at her like he knows. I stared at the floor, my mind racing. Emily had met him months ago. How long had this been going on? How many nights had she lied to my face? She's cheating, man, Logan said. I don't know how deep, but it's happening. I took a slow, steady breath. I need more. Logan was quiet for a moment. Then, I'll dig deeper. I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. Thanks. I hung up, staring at the screen, my hands shaking. I had a name, a face, a place. Emily thought she had covered her tracks. She thought that by drowning her phone, she had killed the truth. She had no idea what was coming. I sat there for a long time, phone still in my hand, Logan's words echoing in my head. Emily was cheating. That wasn't a suspicion anymore, it was a fact. And yet she was in the next room acting like none of this was happening. She probably thought I had gone back to sleep. That by morning, the tension would fade and I'd convince myself I was overreacting. Maybe she'd even play the victim, say I was being controlling, that I had trust issues. I wasn't going to let that happen. I stood up. My body moved on autopilot as I walked toward the bedroom door, the sound of my bare feet against the hardwood barely registering in my ears. I stepped out into the hallway, my movements silent, deliberate. Emily was in the kitchen. I could hear the faint clink of a glass, the hum of the refrigerator door opening, the soft shuffle of her robe against the floor. She wasn't expecting me to follow her. I took my time. Walked slow. Steady. My pulse was calm now. My thoughts were clear. She was facing the counter when I entered the kitchen, pouring herself a glass of water. She hadn't noticed me yet. Tell me about Liam. Emily jumped. The glass slipped from her fingers, hitting the counter before tipping over. Water spilled across the marble, but she didn't move to clean it. Instead, she turned to face me, eyes wide, shoulders stiff. For a second, we just stood there. Then she let out a forced laugh. Are you serious? I didn't blink. Her fingers curled around the edge of the counter, gripping it like it was the only thing keeping her upright. You're still on that? She scoffed, shaking her head. Adam, I told you, stop. My voice wasn't loud. It didn't have to be. Emily's mouth snapped shut. I stepped closer. Slowly. Deliberately. No more lying. No more gaslighting. Just tell me. Her throat bobbed as she swallowed. There's nothing to tell. I took another step forward. You threw your phone in the toilet. She hesitated. Just for a second. Just enough to confirm she didn't have a good excuse. Then, she rolled her eyes. Because you were being crazy. I tilted my head slightly. So, you destroyed your own phone in the middle of the night? Because I was being crazy? Emily exhaled sharply, crossing her arms over her chest. I was done with the conversation, Adam. I knew you wouldn't drop it, so yeah, I made a choice. A stupid one, maybe, but I know who he is. The words hit her like a slap. Her entire body tensed, her lips parting slightly. What? Liam Whitaker, I said, watching her face closely. 34. Real estate. Lives downtown. Emily blinked rapidly, her mind racing to catch up. How do you... I know. I repeated, my voice calm, steady. I wasn't asking anymore. She didn't speak, didn't move. For the first time since this started, I saw real fear in her eyes. She had underestimated me. She thought she had control of the narrative. She thought that by gaslighting me, by deflecting, by throwing her damn phone into a toilet, she could kill the truth. She was wrong, and she knew it now. I took another step forward, forcing her to look up at me. How long? Emily inhaled sharply, her fingers tightening around her arms. Adam, how long? She blinked rapidly, shaking her head. It's not. I clenched my jaw. Don't lie to me, Emily. Her breath hitched. For a moment, I thought she might actually tell the truth. I saw the hesitation, the guilt, the war happening inside her head. But then, it's not what you think, she blurted out. I let out a quiet, humorless laugh. Oh, really? She took a step forward now, her expression shifting. Softer. Baby, please. I would never. Shut up. Emily froze. I had never spoken to her like that before. I had never needed to. But now? Now, I was done playing this game. I let the silence hang between us for a moment, watching her squirm. Then I leaned in slightly, lowering my voice. You moaned his name in your sleep, Emily. Her entire body went still. I saw it, the way her pupils dilated, the way her breath hitched, the way the blood drained from her face. She hadn't realized. And that was all the confirmation I needed. I straightened up, exhaling slowly. My hands were steady. My heart was steady. My mind was clear. Emily just stared at me, lips slightly parted, her face unreadable. And then she made her final mistake. She scoffed, shook her head. And then, with a mocking little smirk, she said, You're really going to throw away our marriage over a dream? A dream. A dream. I let out a slow breath, nodding slightly. All right. Emily's expression flickered. All right. I turned away from her, walking back toward the hallway. All right. Where are you going? She demanded. I didn't answer, because she had no idea what was coming next. I didn't sleep. I didn't even try. Emily did, though. Or at least she pretended to. After our confrontation in the kitchen, she had hovered in the hallway, watching me like she was waiting for me to explode. Maybe she expected me to yell, to throw things, to demand answers. Maybe she thought I'd keep pushing, keep pressing, keep giving her ways to slither out of this with another lie. But I didn't. I just walked back into our bedroom, grabbed my keys and wallet, and left. I didn't slam the door. I didn't look back. I just stepped outside into the cold night air and started driving. I didn't know where I was going at first. My hands gripped the wheel, my mind racing through everything. Every lie, every little detail that suddenly made sense now that I wasn't trying to convince myself that my wife wasn't capable of this. She is, and she had been so sure she wouldn't get caught. I pulled into an empty parking lot, staring out at the darkened storefronts, the neon open 24 hours sign flickering above a convenience store. The radio hummed softly in the background, but I barely heard it. My pulse was steady now, my breathing even. I wasn't broken. I wasn't spiraling. I was planning. A vibration snapped me out of my thoughts. My phone lighting up in the passenger seat. Logan. I exhaled through my nose and picked up. Yeah? His voice was sharper this time. More alert. You still want me to dig deeper? I didn't hesitate. Yes. A beat of silence. Then Logan sighed. All right. I ran a full search on Liam. Nothing crazy, no criminal record, no scandals. But I frowned. But what? Logan hesitated. He's been divorced twice. The last one? Finalized 6 months ago. Something twisted in my stomach. Guess what his ex-wife cited in the divorce? Logan continued, voice tight. Infidelity. I pressed my fingers to my temple. Of course. Of course Emily wasn't just cheating. She was cheating with a serial cheater. I also checked phone records. Logan continued. Obviously, Emily's phone is dead, so I couldn't get recent data, but her call logs from last month? I clenched my jaw. How many? Too many, Logan muttered. Text history is wiped, but there were a lot of calls. A few short ones. A lot of long ones. I closed my eyes for a second. Give me a number. Logan sighed again. 53. My grip on the wheel tightened. 53 calls in a month. That was almost 2 a day. And that was just what Logan could access. Who knew how many times they had talked since she started whatever this was? She was careful, Logan said after a pause. Never called late at night. Always within work hours or right before heading home. She knew what she was doing. Of course she did. Emily was always careful. She was methodical, strategic. She planned her lies, and she thought I was too blind to see them. I let out a slow breath. Where does he live? Logan hesitated. Adam. Where? Another pause. Then, a resigned sigh. High-rise downtown. 10th floor. Apartment 1007. I filed that away. Good. Adam, Logan said carefully. What are you planning? I didn't answer, because the truth was, I didn't know yet. All I knew was that I wasn't going to be the guy who begged for answers from a woman who had already decided I wasn't worth the truth. I wasn't going to sit in that house while Emily lied through her teeth, waiting for the next excuse, the next deflection. I was going to take control. And Emily? She wasn't going to see it coming. I drove home as the sun started to rise, the sky bleeding shades of orange and pink over the quiet streets. The world was waking up, but my mind had never shut down. I had spent the night thinking, planning, deciding. I wasn't going to explode. I wasn't going to scream or throw things or beg Emily for explanations that would only be more lies. No. I was going to end this on my terms. When I pulled into the driveway, the house was silent. Emily's car was still there. She hadn't gone to work yet. That was good. I stepped inside, closing the door behind me as quietly as possible. The air felt different, heavier, the weight of unspoken truths of betrayal lingering in the walls. I found Emily in the kitchen, sitting at the counter with a cup of coffee, scrolling through her laptop. She looked up when she heard me, her face unreadable. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then she exhaled and closed the laptop. "Where did you go?" Her voice was carefully neutral, like she wasn't sure which version of me she was dealing with yet. I didn't answer. I just watched her. She was dressed for work, but I noticed her hair wasn't styled like usual. There were faint shadows under her eyes. She hadn't slept well either. Good. She sighed when I didn't respond and rubbed her temple. "Look, Adam. I don't want to fight. Last night got out of hand and I think I pulled out my phone and placed it on the counter in front of her." She stopped talking immediately. The screen was open to a contact profile. Liam Whitaker. I saw it, the flicker of panic in her eyes, the way she inhaled just a little too sharply. She masked it quickly, but it was there. I leaned forward slightly, keeping my voice calm. Controlled. "You know what I did last night, Emily?" Her fingers curled around the coffee cup. "Adam, I found out everything," I said, cutting her off. "I know who he is. I know about the calls. I know you've been seeing him for months." Her lips parted slightly, and for 1 second I thought she might actually confess. That she dropped the act, let the truth spill out like the coffee she was gripping too tightly. Instead, she shook her head. "I don't know what you think you found," but I smiled. A slow, cold smile. "Oh, I found plenty." I tapped the phone screen. "I have his address." Emily's entire body went rigid. I watched as realization dawned on her. I wasn't just talking anymore. I had taken action. She opened her mouth, but before she could speak, I slid a folded piece of paper across the counter. Her eyes flicked down to it. "What is this?" I didn't answer. I just waited. Slowly, hesitantly, she reached for the paper and unfolded it. Her hands were shaking. Her breath hitched when she read it. Divorce papers. She stared at the page, her eyes darting across the text like she was trying to make sense of it, like she thought maybe this was some kind of bluff. "Adam," she whispered. I tilted my head. "Something wrong." Her throat bobbed as she swallowed. You already had these?" I leaned back slightly. "I got them this morning." She inhaled sharply. "You?" She cut herself off, shaking her head. "This is insane." "No," I said simply. "What's insane is thinking you could cheat on me, lie to my face, and still keep your perfect little life intact." She flinched. I stood up straight. "You're going to sign them, Emily?" She blinked rapidly, shaking her head. No, Adam, please. We don't have to do this. We can." I laughed. Actually laughed. "Are you serious right now?" She reached out suddenly, grabbing my hand. "We can fix this." I looked down at where her fingers were wrapped around mine, then back up at her face. The audacity. "Fix this." I repeated, my voice cold. "You mean like how you fixed your phone by drowning it?" She inhaled sharply. "Or how you fixed our marriage by screwing some real estate agent on the side?" Her eyes widened. "Adam," I pulled my hand away, shaking my head. "No more." She exhaled sharply, her whole body tense. "We can work through this." I raised an eyebrow. "How long, Emily?" She blinked. "What?" I tilted my head. "How long did you plan to keep lying to me? Another month? A year? Forever?" She said nothing, because we both knew the answer. I let out a slow breath and took a step back. "Sign the papers, Emily." Her lip trembled slightly. "And if I don't?" I smirked. "Then I'll make sure everyone knows exactly why I left you." Her face drained of color. She knew what that meant. Our friends. Our families. Her job, where she had built up this pristine image of herself as the perfect professional, the picture of integrity. She had so much to lose. She gritted her teeth, her fingers curling into fists. "You're an asshole." I shrugged. Maybe. But at least I'm not a liar. Silence. A long, heavy silence. Then, slowly, her mask cracked. She clenched her jaw, blinking rapidly, her breath uneven. And just like that, the act was gone. She wasn't the remorseful wife anymore. She wasn't playing the role of the misunderstood victim. Now, she just looked angry. Exposed. Like she hated that I had taken control. Like she hated that she had lost. I stepped closer, leaning down until we were eye to eye. My revenge. I whispered. It's calm. And inevitable. Then, I picked up my phone, tucked the papers back into the folder, and walked out of the kitchen. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I had already won. I didn't leave right away. I wanted to. Every part of me wanted to grab my bag, walk out the front door, and never set foot in this house again. But I had to be smarter than that. Calculated. Precise. Emily was still standing in the kitchen, gripping the counter like she needed it to stay upright. I could feel her eyes burning into my back, but I didn't turn around. I let her stew in it. Let her sit with the realization that I wasn't her fool anymore. Instead of walking out, I went upstairs. Our bedroom looked the same as it always did, neatly made bed, her perfume still lingering in the air, the framed wedding photos on the dresser. I stared at them for a second, my stomach twisting. Lies. That's all they were now. Memories built on nothing but deception. I grabbed a duffel bag from the closet and started packing. I didn't take much, just the essentials. Clothes, toiletries, my laptop. Everything else? She could keep it. The furniture, the dishes, the photos, the life we built? All tainted now. I was done pretending this was a home. I zipped up the bag and turned toward the nightstand. My wedding ring sat there, right where I left it before I went to sleep last night, before everything shattered. I picked it up, turning it between my fingers. A symbol of loyalty, commitment, trust. Everything Emily had pissed on the moment she let another man touch her. I walked into the bathroom and flicked open the toilet lid. The same one she had drowned her phone in, thinking she was so damn clever. I held the ring over the water. For a second, I thought about letting it go. Watching it sink, just like her lies. But no. That was too easy. I pocketed the ring instead. She didn't get to erase me that easily. When I walked back downstairs, Emily was still in the kitchen. But now she was pacing, arms crossed, her face flushed. The mask was cracking more with every passing second. She turned the moment she saw the bag slung over my shoulder. So that's it? She snapped, voice sharp. You're just leaving? I smirked. What? Did you think I was going to cry and beg? Her jaw clenched. You're being so dramatic. I let out a low laugh. Dramatic, I repeated. Emily, you cheated. You lied to my face for months. And now that I won't sit here and eat your bullshit, suddenly I'm the problem. She scoffed, shaking her head. Oh, come on, Adam. You don't even know if anything happened. I took a slow step forward, lowering my voice. You moaned his name in your sleep. Her breath hitched. I saw it. The way her lips pressed together. The way her fingers twitched. She knew she was caught. She exhaled sharply, dragging a hand through her hair. Fine, she muttered, voice quieter now. Fine. Yes, okay? I talked to him. I flirted. It was stupid, but it wasn't. I laughed again, shaking my head. There it is. She narrowed her eyes. There what is? I tilted my head. The next lie. Her face twisted in frustration. You don't know what you're talking about. I pulled out my phone, tapped a few times. Then I turned the screen toward her. A picture of her and Liam. Not at work. Not at a corporate event. No. It was them in a dimly lit bar, sitting close, her hand resting on his thigh. His arm slung around the back of her chair. The way she was looking at him, it was the same way she used to look at me. Emily froze. Her entire body went rigid, her eyes locked on the screen. Her mouth parted slightly, but no sound came out. And in that moment, I saw something shift in her expression. The guilt, the panic, the attempts to spin this in her favor, they all vanished. What was left? Cold. Hard. Resentment. She exhaled through her nose, her lips curling into something that wasn't quite a smile. You really went digging, huh? I smirked. You made it easy. She let out a sharp, humorless laugh, shaking her head. God, you're so fucking predictable. I raised an eyebrow. And you're not. She crossed her arms again. So what? You're leaving me because of some drunken mistake. I stared at her for a long second. Then I chuckled. You know what's funny, Emily? She frowned. What? I leaned in slightly, lowering my voice. If you had just told the truth? If you had sat me down and confessed, if you had been honest even once in your life, maybe this would have gone differently. Her face twisted slightly. So what? You would have forgiven me. I shrugged. Maybe. That hit her. Her eyes flickered with something, regret, maybe. but only for a second. Then, just as quickly, the walls came back up. She squared her shoulders, tilting her chin up defiantly. Well, I guess we'll never know, huh? I let out a breath, shaking my head. Guess not. Then, I pulled the folded divorce papers from my bag and dropped them onto the counter. You have until the end of the week, I said flatly. Emily's nostrils flared. And if I don't sign? I smirked. Then I make this a whole lot messier. Her eyes darkened. You wouldn't. I leaned in close, so close I could see the panic she was trying to hide. Try me. Then, without another word, I turned around, grabbed my bag, and walked out the door. And this time, I didn't look back. I walked out of that house and into a world that suddenly felt lighter. It wasn't peace, not yet. Not even close. But there was something satisfying about leaving Emily standing in that kitchen, clutching those divorce papers, realizing she had lost. I didn't drive far. I wasn't running. I didn't need to. I had nothing to hide. I just needed a place to think, to breathe, to let everything sink in. So I pulled into a coffee shop, the kind that opened before sunrise for the early workers and late stragglers. I sat by the window, drinking black coffee that tasted like freedom. And I waited. Not for Emily. Not for second thoughts. For the inevitable. She had spent months controlling the narrative, keeping me in the dark, making me feel like the crazy one. Yeah? It was her turn to watch things slip through her fingers. My phone buzzed. I didn't check the screen right away. I already knew. Emily. I let it ring. The first time. The second. The third. Then, a text. Adam. We need to talk. I smirked. Oh, now we need to talk? I took my time. Finished my coffee. Walked outside, feeling the crisp morning air against my skin. And then I called her back. She picked up immediately. Adam. Her voice was different. Not soft, not seductive, not full of fake hurt. It was tight. She was panicking. Emily, I said casually. She exhaled sharply. You're really doing this? I leaned against my car, tilting my head toward the sunrise. I don't know. Did you really cheat on me? Silence. Then a sharp inhale. Adam, please. Can we be adults about this? I chuckled. That's funny. You weren't asking to be adults when you were sneaking around with Liam. She groaned. Oh my God. Do you even hear yourself? You're acting like I don't know, like I murdered someone. I smiled to myself. There it was. The real Emily. Not the guilty, remorseful wife. The selfish, manipulative liar who couldn't stand not being in control. Emily, I said, calm and clear. You lost. Her breath caught. What? I glanced at my reflection in the car window. I looked different, sharper, like a version of myself I hadn't seen in years. You lost, I repeated. The lies, the gaslighting, the manipulation, it's over. I see you now. She scoffed, but it wasn't strong. It was weak. So that's it? You just walk away. I shrugged. What else do you want me to do? Beg. She didn't answer, because deep down that was what she wanted. She wanted tears. She wanted me to crumble, to sit there questioning myself, to ask what did I do wrong? Instead, I left her behind. You don't just throw away years of marriage over something like this. She tried again, her voice lower now. People work through things, Adam. I smirked. People, maybe. Not us. Silence. A long silence. Then her voice shifted. Darker. Colder. You think you're better than me? I laughed. Actually laughed. Emily, I don't have to think. I know. She inhaled sharply. You're such a fucking... I hung up. Not out of anger. Not because I didn't want to hear her rant and scream. Because I was done. I blocked her number. She could scream into the void for all I cared. I got into my car, started the engine, and drove off with a smile on my face. For the first time in years, I was free. I didn't go back to that house. I didn't check my messages. I didn't sit around waiting for Emily to come up with her next excuse, her next manipulation, her next attempt to drag me back into the web of lies she had spent months spinning. I was done. But being done didn't mean I was finished. Emily had spent months sneaking around, living a double life, laughing behind my back with a man who had made a career out of breaking relationships. And she thought she could walk away from it all unscathed. She was wrong. The first thing I did was go to my lawyer. I didn't just want a divorce, I wanted it airtight. Emily wasn't going to weasel her way out of this, and she sure as hell wasn't going to walk away benefiting from the marriage she burned to the ground. I sat in my lawyer's office, watching as he flipped through the papers, nodding. You want a clean break? Yes. No shared assets? None. Any reason to suspect she'll fight it? I smirked. Oh, she'll fight it. But she won't win. The lawyer glanced up at me, raising an eyebrow. What makes you so sure? I leaned forward, resting my elbows on the desk. Because I have leverage. I pulled out my phone and slid it across the desk. He picked it up, scrolling through the folder I had labeled Emily's lies. It wasn't just the picture of her and Liam in the bar. It was screenshots, messages from her work account, emails that were just friendly enough to be denied but just suggestive enough to be suspicious. It was call logs, timelines, financial records showing her credit card being used at his apartment. It was everything. My lawyer let out a low whistle. Jesus Christ. I smirked. Told you. He nodded slowly, setting the phone down. With this, we can go for infidelity as grounds. Depending on the prenup, there isn't one, I interrupted. He glanced up. That could complicate things. I shook my head. Not if we handle it right. He leaned back in his chair. And how exactly do you want to handle it? I smiled. Calm. Inevitable. I want her to walk away with nothing. The lawyer nodded slowly. We can do that. By the time I walked out of that office, the weight on my shoulders was lighter. Not gone, but getting there. Emily had spent months making me feel like I was losing my mind, like I was paranoid, like I was the bad guy for questioning her. Now, she was about to learn what it felt like to have control ripped out of her hands. I went to a hotel that night. I could have gone to Logan's, but I needed space, real space. Somewhere Emily couldn't reach me. Not that she hadn't tried. Even though I blocked her number, she still found ways to reach me. Emails, messages through mutual friends, even a damn handwritten note left at my office. Like she thought we were in some tragic romance novel. It all said the same thing. Adam, please let's talk. Adam, we can fix this. Adam, I made a mistake. Mistake. Like this was some minor slip-up. Like she hadn't spent months looking me in the eyes, kissing me goodnight, telling me she loved me, while sneaking around behind my back. I didn't respond. I didn't need to, because I had one last move left to make. And Emily? She wasn't going to see it coming. 3 days. That's how long I gave Emily before I played my final hand. She had spent those 3 days spiraling. I knew it without even seeing her. Her emails became more desperate, her messages more erratic. Mutual friends started reaching out, clearly coached by her, asking if I was okay, if I'd calmed down. Like she thought this was just some emotional outburst. Like she thought I'd cool off and come crawling back, ready to talk, ready to listen to whatever bullshit excuse she had prepared. She still didn't understand. I wasn't angry anymore. I was in control. So when I sent her a message, one single message after days of silence, I knew exactly how she would react. Come to the house. We need to talk. I could feel her relief through the screen. Her response was instant. I'll be there in an hour. Thank you, Adam. We can fix this. I smirked. She still didn't get it. She thought I was coming back to negotiate. That I'd sit across from her, let her cry, let her twist the story, let her rewrite history to make herself the victim. She thought she still had power here. She was about to learn just how wrong she was. I was waiting in the living room when she arrived. I had already moved out most of my things, the things that mattered. The rest? She could rot in this house with it. The moment she stepped inside, I saw it, that flicker of hope in her eyes. That tiny, desperate little ember she was still clinging to. I let her have it. For one last moment. She set her purse down, smoothing out her sweater. Adam, she sighed, giving me that soft, tired look. I know things got messy, but we don't have to end like this. I leaned back against the couch, watching her. Oh? She stepped closer, lowering her voice like we were in some intimate moment. Like she hadn't ripped our marriage apart. I made a mistake, she whispered. A stupid, horrible mistake. But you and me, we've built something real. We don't just throw that away. I smiled. She still thought this was a game she could win. I reached over, grabbed the envelope sitting on the coffee table, and tossed it toward her. She caught it clumsily, frowning as she opened it. Her eyes scanned the papers inside, legal documents, final filings, signatures already in place. Her breath caught. What? I tilted my head. It's done, Emily. She blinked rapidly. Wait, no. No, we were going to talk. This is me talking. She let out a sharp breath. Adam, you don't have to do this. We can go to therapy, we can. Did you tell Liam that? She flinched. I leaned forward. Did you sit across from him and say, wait, we can fix this? Did you hold his hand and beg for another chance while you were lying to me? Her lip trembled. I laughed softly, shaking my head. No, you didn't. Because when you wanted him, I didn't matter. Her breathing was shaky now. Adam, please. I stood up, stepping close. I didn't yell. I didn't sneer. I just spoke calm, measured, final. You lost me, Emily. Tears welled in her eyes. No, You lost me, I repeated. Not because you cheated. Not even because you lied. But because the second you got caught, you never stopped lying. She inhaled sharply. I was scared. I smirked. So was I. And now, I gestured to the papers. Now you get to be scared alone. She stared at me, chest rising and falling too fast, her hands gripping the envelope like it was the only thing keeping her upright. And then she broke. The fake tears disappeared. The soft, pleading wife vanished. Her face twisted in pure, ugly resentment. You're really going to do this? I raised an eyebrow. I already did. She exhaled sharply, shaking her head. You're an asshole. I grinned. Maybe. But at least I'm not a cheating asshole. She clenched her jaw, hands trembling now. You'll regret this. I laughed. No. You will. She opened her mouth, maybe to scream, maybe to cry, maybe to spit another lie into the air just for the hell of it. I didn't give her the chance. I walked past her, grabbed my car keys, and opened the front door. The morning air was crisp, clean, like the universe itself was ready to wipe the last of Emily's poison off me. I stepped outside. Emily didn't follow. She stood there, frozen in the doorway, clutching those final papers like they held the last pieces of a life she had destroyed with her own hands. I took one last deep breath. Then, without another word, I closed the door on her, on our marriage, on all of it. And I never looked back.